Hello and welcome, dear listeners and viewers, to this new episode of your weekly program, Spectra. Through this program, we always try to shed light on all the different controversial issues that really matter to all those people living in Canada and the United States. Whether they're new immigrants or they're citizens, at the end of the day, we're all humans living in one beautiful blue planet. Social justice and social equality and equality between genders is a great dream. A lot of people throughout the ages have went through great battles, and they had a lot of epic, struggles to achieve these great goals. Unfortunately, until today, these are still dreams waiting to be fulfilled and to become a reality one day. Today, we will tackle the role of art. And we very frequently talk about art in this program because, again, art is the most supreme human, manifestation of the intellect and the soul and the heart of humanity. How can art play a role to bring social justice and gender equality and much more, peace to everyone? To talk about this, I'm really delighted to be accompanied in the studio by Deepa Mahanti. Thank you very much for coming today, and it's a real pleasure having you. Deepa Mahanti is an entrepreneur, she is an author, and she is a filmmaker. And before and after all, she is a very active woman. Thank you very much again for being with us.
Thank you so much, Mohammed, for inviting me. Sincerely appreciate it.
It's really a pleasure. And Deepa, to start off, if we can talk about how did your life start here in Canada? And even before that, can you shed some light on your journey?
Sure. I was born in India, raised in Africa, educated in the UK and India, lived my...
So which part of Africa were you raised?
It was West Africa. Then my dad was an engineer, so we went to Nigeria. Okay. Where he was a consultant for international projects, and this is how I was raised. I did my A levels from Africa, and then I moved on to India, did my two bachelors there.
So the A levels are the GCEs, the General Certificate of Education. The British General Certificate of Education.
That was under the Oxford University. Mm-hmm. And then I did two majors, one in law and one in management honors and commerce from India. And then I did my human resources from the UK, from the Cambridge, UK. And I worked in Dubai for 10 years. I've traveled 11 countries so far. I wish to travel more. And I landed myself in Canada in 2009. So this is a gist of my global journey. And every time I met people from different cultures, I thought I was learning. And that was so beautiful. Cultures, people, languages, art, food, music, name it all. It was like a beautiful fusion of colors, beautiful flavors that I was visiting. And these are the splendid memories that I think will remain lifetime.
Yeah, like use the term fusion, and they are really fused together inside you. And what kind of a person would Deepa be today if you were only raised in one country? What difference would it make in your personality?
I would define that in one word, and that would be fixated. I would be fixated only because I'm contained in a certain boundary. I'm incapacitated to see the dimension from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I would have one mono mindset, and that's not my fault because I was raised a particular way.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you are exposed to different environments, meet different people, have intellectual conversations, understand different cultures, it's so difficult to define your own individuality because you have not yet met your own self.
So if we go into specifics a little bit, like you were originally of Indian origin, but you lived in Africa, you lived in Dubai, you went to the UK, you went to 11 other countries as well. What are the most important things? Like, what like each one of them has left some traces on you, definitely. So, what things do you still have from the Indian background or from the African journey, from the Middle East, from Europe?
I definitely have my roots because traditions is where we are raised, and I always take pride in the cultures that you are from. Having said that, I have always been exposed to progressive mindsets. If I were to evaluate all the countries and cultures I have been exposed to, the one thing that have touched me then and would always remain in my life is humanity.
Mm-hmm.
I have been embraced with a lot of love and affection, knowing that I come from a different ethnic background. That did not matter. I had friends in Africa. I had friends in Dubai. I still have friends from different boundaries right here in Canada. And we have no inhibitions. We connect from one to one.
Mm-hmm.
Our mindsets are like just bringing in different streams of light.
Mm-hmm.
I can't explain more. So I do not find myself anybody different from connecting with another person from a different community. I gel so well. People wonder why. I said, well, then that's the essence of diversity. You need to know that once you embrace that.
So in all of these different cultures you've lived in these different countries, did you ever feel that you were marginalized, isolated? Because there are a lot of people who have this phobia against different cultures and feel that I must stick to my ghetto, my self-made silo, and never leave that. This is my comfort zone. But you've been, out and about, and you've moved all around the world. So did you ever feel that you were a legal alien in any of these places? Were you alienated, marginalized,
Perhaps I was one of those fortunate people that didn't feel the same way. And the reason was that the fear is the unknown platform that's in you.
Mm-hmm.
And it is internally. Till the time you have the fear, you will feel the other person is there too, something different, something might happen. Oh my God, we are so judgmental. Only because you are in that unknown sector. And that is what I call the fear. Perfect example I give is you will not know the depth of the ocean if you're standing at the shore. Mm-hmm. You need to go deep to sense the waters, how deep they are, before making a judgment or perhaps just feeling that they might be different. Mm-hmm. They bring in different flavors and different cultures and, intellectual peripherals, but then they're one and the same.
Okay, so you would totally refrain from any prejudice. You would always give yourself the chance, like you said, to put your feet in the water before deciding if it's too deep or too shallow. You must really try that yourself. Mm-hmm. You must have your own first-hand experience and not depend on what you hear from others.
Yes, so now this is my personal experience. Mm-hmm. Now what I'm sharing this is where I was raised. This is how I was exposed to. was fortunate enough to live different boundaries and cultures, and I have friends globally. So that's my opportunity of life. Mm-hmm. There might be instances when we go back to that very person who has not seen any other threshold, but a certain particular community or raised in a particular religion or whatsoever. I would then say, I can't say much, but then they have a different set of minds. And you cannot have a shift unless you actually cross that threshold, because we have inhibitions even here in Canada. I've been here over 10 years. I see little communities that are very, very comfortable and cushioned in their own audience. And again, the fear factor is there. The inhibition is there. Can I gel well? Will I be rejected? Will they embrace me well? I know. But then the truth is, we have less of friends in our own community. That's the truth. Because here we have a lot of other vices, power struggle. Guess what? We don't like people succeeding us. We feel failures. It's all our internal struggles.
So what are the incentives of passing this threshold? Like you talked about, like here I'm standing and or like going to the other side, like the other bank of the river, and to go like to the other bank of the river, I must put my feet in the water, and this water might be too deep. I might sink in it. So what kind of advice would you give those people who are very reluctant to go and put their feet in the water?
Inclusion. If I were to term this in one word, that would be equity and inclusion. When I say equity, fairness. Inclusion, when you hold each other as one of you, one veteran, one community. Instead of little communities, we are of human fate. We belong to humanity. The tears and pains in your eyes are the same that fall from me. How different are you?
Okay.
So this is where I belong. And when I say inclusion is, you might be from any part of the world. You might be from any community. Why? How does it matter? We feel the same. We eat the same. We even express ourselves the same. If we go to a blood bank and I am in dire need of blood, do I ask anybody, where do you come from? What's your religion? What's the ethnic background? The purpose of anybody is to save a life. So this is where I belong. At that point, when I am given the blood and I come out of the crisis and I am well and alive again, who do I thank? Who do I actually want to know who my donor is? All I would like to know, this donor gave me my life back.
Absolutely.
That is what matters to me.
Definitely. And of course, a very, very intriguing thing for me is that you're using art and you're a filmmaker to bring social justice, equality. Can you shed more light on this, please?
Sure. My first published work was in 2017. I used my biopic as a journey of a simple, regular, child, a girl child, into adulthood, her turbulences, her trials, accomplishments, and accolades. And that journey was a perfect example of many, many people, women folk, on the thresholds and crossroads of despair and survival. There are many that do not surface up after challenges of life. There are many who do not have the voice to kind of speak and perhaps stand their grounds and understand their rights whatsoever, and push themselves to the goals that they belong. So this was through my writing, I tried to express my own personal journeys. And I'm proud to say that I have a global fan following from different countries, different I would say ethnic groups. And what they said was, it is an inspiring story. And we had 2 launches. We had one in Canada and one in India. And both were attended by the well-sorted community leaders, that I call them, in 2 different boundaries. And And when I say that, these are all distinguished people that had come just to give me support. That there's this person, minority of a woman, actually, she dares to tell a story across the global platforms and she's trying to rekindle the flame of those candles sitting in the dark. So that was the expression of my art. Yes, that was the first one. And now I'm doing a film called Kadupool. It's a journey of a burn survivor who has had 23 surgeries, starts a day with 40 medications, pushes herself up to be on her feet. And in spite of all her journey, the entire body skin grafted, she has never failed herself. Today, she is a co-founder of a food bank and a recipient of Women Laurel of Worth, amidst other accolades she has. This is a kind reminder to our women and ladies that if she can do it, so can you.
Yeah, a call to the ladies, to the women who are always undermined and always belittled, and people think they can never amount to anything at all. And because in your writings, in your films, you're always, you would consider yourself a feminist, like, per se?
I always believe in this term, balance for the better. It's no longer feminism here. We are mothers, we are nurturers, and we have both daughters and sons.
Okay.
What I believe in raising them equally, because if you raise a daughter, you raise a family. And if you raise a son, well, he raises his family. So together, the son and the daughter, you have to raise them equally. This is what I'm saying. So if I have two children, how should I just start my daughter and give my son all the fantastic meals? Absolutely not. A mother can't do that. So if you're a mother, you're a nurturer, your mindset should be straight. And how do you do that? If you have the dignity and you have that integrity in yourself to stand your own feet, then only you can give the right education, value system, integrity, and what not you need to nurture in your children.
Absolutely. And when you use art as a medium, like how is art as a medium, like versus, let's say, a speech? If you go and lecture people or like, give a long speech, how's art like, the reception of art by people? How do you think it, like the difference it makes when you when you convey your message and use art as your medium?
Well, I will ask you a question, Mohammed. What's your favorite music that you heard when you were like 12 years old? Do you recall?
A lot.
Okay, you do, right?
Yeah.
If I were to ask you, what was a speech that you recall when you were an adult? Do you recall any specific speech?
A few words here and there, just very few, yeah.
There you go. So through art leaves behind footprints of time. Art leaves behind imprints that stays with you forever. It might be through music, a piece of art like in painting, or writing poetry. How many times for example, I have been a literature student during my school days. I still remember all the works of Shakespeare.
Absolutely.
So this is a kind reminder that art is a visual form that touches your soul and mind.
So art always stands the test of time. And, let's go on a short artistic, break. And we'll be back again on, to continue this very, extremely interesting and enriching interview. Don't go away.
Sing loud and strong, sing of this land of our hopes and our dreams, which are the beams of graces and peace, joining the chorus from sea and to sea, with wills ancient fell apart. Peace the soul of the wind in our whispering hearts. All our voices come together, always singing out of tomorrow. Your time has come. We can do short, desire and song.
And we're back again after this short musical break. We're talking about the effect of art and that art really stands the test of time. And it leaves an everlasting mark in people's hearts and minds. Again, like you are a very active woman and you have this very multicultural perspective. So did you ever meet someone who has belittled you as a woman or thought like, how can you be that active? Like, I don't really believe that a woman like you can be that active.
Frankly speaking, every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Every single time. Sometimes I would literally think, am I good enough? Can I do that? I would question every single time. So if you ask me, do I have ever challenges? Absolutely. It started from childhood. I'm still facing it. Only thing is, my attitude has changed. Before I used to feel depressed. Now I don't. Before I wasn't as assertive enough. Today I am.
So being assertive was your antidote against this kind of intrusion in your life, or like this kind of I'm sorry to say, like, because some people really do it. They treat others with disdain, unfortunately. In some cultures, in some people's minds, they really treat women with disdain, thinking that women can never amount to anything. Like, or how do you want to stand head to head and shoulder to shoulder with a man? How dare you?
This is in all cultures. I mean, I would lie if I say that doesn't exist in any, or exists in particular culture and doesn't exist in another. It does exist in all cultures. And that is the reason we are first and foremost having this discussion on the 21st century in Toronto, in North America.
Mm-hmm.
That's a beautiful question to actually think. I mean, the world looks up to us, and yet we are discussing gender inequality.
Mm-hmm.
So coming back, yes, I mean, every single time we have seen this happen. But the question is, how do you reach that point where you think, yes, I'm confident enough to sit at par with a male counterpart and do the same things and be respected the same way?
Mm-hmm.
I figured out myself, and this is my story. I thought that I was not capable enough to do certain things. But today I understand that that was my mistake. I undermined myself.
Mm-hmm.
I undervaluated myself. So my answer is, you need to delve down within yourself to straighten out your capabilities. Once you do that, the other person will see that. You know, you are the own reflection of your own self. So I urge my peer group, my women folk across the world, that you are no less than anybody. All you have to do is know yourself. The power lies beneath you.
So the first believer in you should be yourself. You should start, and you should take the lead in believing in yourself.
Mhm.
And you just said something that some people try to sort of hide, or like they're reluctant to say, that gender inequality is international.
Mhm.
Maybe like the percentage might vary, the extent might vary, but it is everywhere.
Yes.
So if we talk about North America, where like most of our viewers and listeners come, like come from or live, what is the percentage of gender inequality like in North America?
I would say over 65%.
Wow.
That's a huge number.
And what is the manifestation of this? Like, where is this implemented? Like at workplace and domestically?
I would say all spheres again. Workplace, we have domestic, we have, between even there is a point in everybody's life where you have raised your own sons.
Mm-hmm.
There will be a point in life that the sons are going to ask, or perhaps it's a part of the culture that says, either you share your husband's name or you are under your son. So technically, we are questioning our own dignity.
Mm-hmm.
Or are we?
Mm-hmm.
When we have nurtured the child is an adult now, he questions us, actually. Food for thought. And who has given this right? Us. Only because we are nurturers, we try to protect them, cushion them, nurture them, sacrifice for them, give them the best. And yet, when there's a stage when we need to be taken care of, do we still regard them as superior?
Yeah, like this is a real enigma for me always, because the first director that any of us ever had was our mother, who's a woman. And then like, as you go to nursery school or like whatever you have, usually your first teacher is a woman. So the first people who like engraved something in your like, empty border slate were women.
Mm-hmm.
So how is it later on, as you grow up, you start questioning the ability of women to make any kind of effect on you? It's a real enigma, something that is always beyond me, really.
Even I do not understand.
Mm-hmm.
All I understand is, as a person, we need to understand our dignity and respect. We need to be respected. We are mothers, and all the children come from us, right? So we need, this is why I keep on saying mindsets. The value system starts from your home, your bone boundary.
Mm-hmm.
Before telling anybody else, I would, request everyone, look around you, look around the women around you, your sisters, your daughters, your wives, your mothers, and then see what you can change. The attitudes is so important, because and it says that it's important for us to break the cycle. If you think something is wrong, change it. And it all happens, in the peripheral of a home. I have had the opportunity of meeting so many women, even today. They haven't seen a dime, at the palm. They're not, I don't know what to say.
And is this among like, you'd say new immigrants, or is it like among the mainstream population? Because many people might argue, are you serious about this? In North America, like in North America, have a lot of, women who are directors, who are ministers, who are like, premiers, who are like whatnot, really, like who are CEOs. So how is it that you're saying that there is discrimination against women, or like women are not getting their full rights? So are you talking about a specific cultural group or a specific kind of people, just the new immigrants? Or
no, I think it's all. It's not a particular community or ethnicity or a particular environment or boundary. It's all over. Whether you're sitting in North America or you're sitting in any country of the world, it has to be a shift in the mindset. It has been, why are we even discussing gender inequality if there was no inequality? Why are we kind of not looking at the stats that has been reported? Forget about the stats that have not been reported. These are the stats that gets reported, or those their minds, people who have thought, yes, we are existent, we are human beings, we have feelings, we have rights, right? We have some dignity, and we dare to share. We dare to spread our voice through any forms. And this is exactly what I say. Our art might be one of the forms. There might be many. But art is definitely a visual to attract a lot of people. And again, keep footprints of time.
Again, a lot of people say that, and a lot of people, unfortunately, still believe that some areas and some disciplines were only made for men and not for women. And it's a taboo for men, like for women to enter these fields because they can never excel in these fields and they'll be so clumsy. This is the way they see it. Now, in your book, the book you published, something that I think would be, like it's totally breaking all these, obsolete, really, norms that some people have, is that your work as an auxiliary officer. So can you shed some light? Like being an officer is something, again, a lot of people think that is just for for men, although they still see officers, women officers in the street, but still they're.
Well, in my journey of my book, the main thought, the contents that I put forward was my journey. And my journey also included working with the community. Working with the community. And that would mean that being inclusive, being diverse, and how would I work with the community when I'm secluded sitting on the shore of my community? So in my book, I have had the opportunity to write the journey of being an auxiliary officer. What did it take me? Well, how difficult was it? Me running with the 19, 20-year-olds. How many times did I fail? Who held me up? My friends.
So what is your specialty as an auxiliary officer?
So we work voluntarily with the regular officers out of the goodness of heart, unconditionally.
And you have this multicultural perspective in your mandate?
So diversity is definitely huge. Nobody sees where you come from. You are treated one and the same. You are one among equals. The respect is given equally. There is no inequality in the forum that I speak so proudly of. And this is where I belong. And when during my tribulations, my failures of my journey, I failed. I've told a million times I failed, but did I give up? Absolutely not. There are two beautiful friends, one from Pakistan, one from the Black community. They're still my friends. They pushed me hard. They said, you cannot quit. You've come far. You better do it. And today, with great gratitude, I tell the world, these are my pillars that pulled me and said, you better walk your way. You dared the dream. You walked the path, and you cannot fail. You failed? Buckle up. Try harder. Push yourself. Passion is there. Get going. And the day we rejoiced being one of them that was memorable that I put in my journey.
So you, throughout the journey, you stumble but never fall.
Yes, I never fell from myself.
Yeah.
I still held my head high. I was one of them.
Absolutely. That's really great. That is, I think, a great motivator for a lot of people out there who are like, and little girls are told by their parents or like by their father, how dare you aspire, or like, how dare you think that one day you can be an equal to your brother just because she is a woman, just because she is a female. Then that's it. Like they put a specific ceiling or bar, and it's a very low one, to the extent that they'll choke those little girls and never give them a chance to advance ever.
Mhm.
So do you think that, again, there are some specific services that are lacking for women, or like, because other people might tell you, you know what, the reason we're talking about inequality is that women are just blowing this thing out of proportion because they're so greedy, they want to take even much more. So women have full equality today, but what they need is they want to have an edge over us. They want to be the superior ones. How can you reply to this?
In all the civil services, all the bureaucrat services, they see the minds.
Mm-hmm.
What I like is there are certain forms that we fill in Canada that does not tell us about the genders.
Mm-hmm.
We all, yes, you can make out sometimes from the names, but then we come from a diverse backgrounds. I think the opportunity is there. We need to come out of our mindsets. Be there, be brave. It's your minds that call, and you need to be there. So my call is to my peer group, come out. You are as good as your male counterparts. You're even better. You never know.
Yeah.
And we need to salute those brave hearts that want to conquer and be equal to their own people. Yeah, this is
Absolutely.
what I believe.
Believe in yourself. You can do it. Let's go on another short artistic musical break, and we'll be back. Don't go away.
Rocks and plains and visions of trains from sea to sea. Forêts et lacs, aurore boréale du grand nord silencieux.
Mountains of snow, forest below, ocean fears.
Frozen lands in the rugged hands of Canadian pioneers. This is my Canada.
This is my home, my nation.
From St. John's to Victoria. This is my Canada. This is my Canada. Canada. Oh, Canada. Torrent d'eau fraîche, dunes de sable, village côtier. Gens de cœur, gens d'espoir et ancêtres dévoués.
Peacekeeping roles and noble goals spark the fire.
The marathon of hope lives on and the flames grow higher. This is my Canada. This is my home, my nation. From St. John's to Victoria. This is my Canada. This is my Canada. Canada.
This is my Canada. This is our Canada. Notre Canada. So this is Canada for everyone, for all, for men, for women, for humans, just for humans, period. And this is what we need to remember. And I believe to our viewers in the United States, again, the same would apply. Humans are humans. It doesn't matter like what your gender is. What really matters, it's what lies within. I think what lies within doesn't really differentiate between man and woman. Do you concur with that? Like,
100%. 100%. So I would urge people that people who are on the thresholds, people who think that I'm less superior than my male counterpart, my brother, or couple thinking I am less superior than my husband. We are not trying to kind of be a feminist here, but kind of asking people balance for the better.
mm-hmm.
You complement each other. You cannot do without each other. Just respect each other. And that would make a difference.
And, talking about, again, equality and justice, and equality is not really synonymous with equity. So, like, equality is not always justice. So, as I always say, so if I have $10 and I have 10 people, so I give each one of them $1, regardless of their needs, this is equality, but it's not justice. It's not equity,
Mm-hmm.
really.
Mm-hmm.
So what do women need to have real justice and real equity? What is lacking? What is really lacking? What to be like more detailed? Because like I was telling you before the break, people will say you have ministers, you have premiers, you have members of parliament, you have in all kinds of professions there are women. You have women directors, CEOs. So what is really lacking? Come on, you guys are just, you want to be bosses of everything? Come on, give men a chance.
Well, again, I say it's not, again, balance for the better. The best man wins. So yes, when there is a competition, if I were the judge, I would see the right talent. If I'm a director and a female, filmmaker, I would see what is a projection, what's a message that I want to give the broader audience.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about a certain community. It's not about certain, facets that I would project. My only thing that would reflect my piece of art is my progressive mindset. What do I want to dress?
But do you think like women are being discriminated against specifically in a specific field?
Every field, I guess. It
Mm-hmm.
depends, though. It depends. I mean, if, for example, if you see the salaries, survey of certain professions, sometimes it might be so in a workplace you are giving a dime or less, and obviously no questions answered,
Mm-hmm.
but it is understood, right? Same qualification, same experience, same years of experience, line of business, whatsoever, then what is the very reason?
Mm-hmm.
It might be several reasons. It might be, we can't just say because you have 2 qualifications. Yes, personality matters, your attitude matters. These are little pointers, but it can happen either for a man or a woman. So it will be unwise for me to say that, you are discriminatory because you're a woman, but it's the attitude. Sometimes people who are, as I say, men who have the right attitudes get better salary, and women who have better attitudes get better salary. So this is a kind of paradox that we will have to try.
So again, do you think women are still treated as bodies more than minds? Because very recently there was a rule, to prevent, just very recently, to prevent, any, director or any owner of any kind of enterprise to force the women working with them to wear high heels. It was there. So it was there until very recently. For some jobs, the woman has to wear high heels. So again, forcing women like to, you must look pretty. You are made to, amuse us, to entertain us, to, give pleasure to us. Is this still a fact?
It might be so. I will not state any facts. Having said that, it's our right to accept or refuse.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if I accept, which I feel is not dignity for me, then I shouldn't be complaining.
Okay.
So if I would say, if somebody tells me you need to dress a certain way for you to be here, I would say, not really. You have employed me because I'm good enough.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You have employed me because you thought I'm worth it. You have employed me because you thought I could represent your company well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because I have a pretty face.
Okay.
So it's beyond the surface. It's the talent we are talking about. It's the quality that we bring to the table.
So you should be assertive again. Never be passive.
Yes.
And not aggressive at the same time. So if you're assertive, you'll not need to be aggressive. You just, stop things where they started. So
yes.
Yeah.
So what I would say that we sometimes twist and turn our own fallacies.
Mm-hmm.
For example, people who are confident are humble and deep. People who just want to put exterior, you can pick them up, but then they're not confident. So the confidence is an internal journey that you get over the years. You literally know yourself. You know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know your facts. You are a learned person. You have a certain intellect. So why undermine yourself? Why do something that you don't relate yourself to? You need to be unique. You have your own name. So these are the things that needs to be thought about, because if you accept, whose fault is it?
Yes, exactly. And as an entrepreneur as well, like, how's the status of women as entrepreneurs?
We have a lot of challenges. They say you are in the man's world. And I said, really? How come and why? Because yes, we don't know how to do politics, perhaps. We do not understand the dynamics. We are straightforward. We think from the heart rather than only the mind. We believe in relationships rather than just monetary aspect or monetary gains. That's, yes, for sure it's a man's world, but we need to crack it. We need to make it a people's world where we are one or the same. We need to be included. So yes, there are a lot of challenges. I'm still learning. And I was sitting with the other networking with a set of people last week. I was at awe. I mean, if I heard some stories, I hope they are not real. Mm-hmm. I heard that if you are a woman entrepreneur, there will be some people actually asking people not to do business with you because they think that, you might fail them or there'll be a potential loss if they do business with you. And I'm kind of smiling to
myself. You're not really reliable as
yes,
women?
Yes, reliable. I mean, yes. So I was smiling. I said, where do you come from? Mm-hmm. Are you actually in the 21st century? Hi, you kept me pondering. Food for thought again for myself.
So you think again, like, women and men, and you just said it, like they have different attributes, mm-hmm. but these different attributes are made to complement one another. Mm-hmm. So not supplement. So like, it's not, women don't have this supplementary, abilities when when just men want to relax or have some time off. No, they are very complementary as well, mm-hmm. at the same time. Mm-hmm. So it is something that is really equally needed at the same time. You need
Yes.
both mindsets
So I
to
always,
become a human.
of course. So
Yeah.
no circle is complete unless you put two half circles into one.
Yes. So,
So
you have two hemispheres
two hemispheres, right?
to create
The full complete circle. Similarly, I always cannot stress on the fact that balance for the better. We believe in equality. We believe in inclusion. We believe to have the belongingness. We can add flavor, not diffuse any.
Okay.
So we are, I mean, always, it was a very interesting experiment we did in 2009 when I was a HR professional, and one of the top-notch executives contacted me and said, Deepa, would you like to do a live networking sessions with the HR departments? And I was wondering, what is live networking event? That was my first of the kind. She said, we will call all the heads of the HR heads across different conglomerates, and then have, just have progressive conversations over the table, over coffee. You will be astonished to see how many hidden jobs are there and what kind of, people they want. And I said, okay. And the reason that she picked me up, because I was a woman, I am a woman of color, a minority, and she was kind of just trying to see if, people will actually come. Believe it or not, we had 28 heads of the table, HR heads sitting together having coffee. That was in 2009. Today we are in 2019. I sincerely hope we have grown.
Yeah.
This is a very small example, and if you Google me, my name, and just put live networking, you will see what I mean. And
you touched on a very important and sensitive issue here. You said, like, you come from a specific cultural background and you're a woman and so on and so forth. And this is something we've lived, and it's a fact, it's an established fact, whether we cannot run away from it. In the last elections, in the last federal elections, unfortunately took a very racial flavor. And politics and racism, they were really intertwined. Like they just acted as like a match made in heaven for politicians to play with. And where can this take us? Like, why did this arise?
Well, I am not great in politics. I can speak from a layman's point of view.
Yes. Exactly.
All I am asking our community to stand together, men and women of honor, respecting each other in terms of dignity and integrity. Because if we are strong enough, and it's for the men that think that women are not as equal, the strong person pulls the other person up, not lets him down or her down. Similarly, my request is, if you are strong, and if you even consider somebody not as strong, the best thing is to support them, pull them up so they can stand beside you. And so this is how we make a community a better place. And then we will be talking less of inequality, gender inequality, and, make it more a beautiful place to kind of work together towards harmony and peace.
Absolutely. Going back again to art, do you think that art so far has done justice to gender inequality, to social inequality so far?
We are still struggling. While I was coming for the interview, I got an opportunity to go through certain articles, because I love reading. And it was very interesting that these are all recently posted. And they kept on, the conversation was one and the same, that said that we are not getting the same status as what our male counterparts are, be it music, be it arts, be it theaters, be it films, be it anything in arts. And this is why the frustration is that, tell us why. How can we improve? We are ready to work harder. We are ready to be more stronger. We can have the right qualifications, but tell us why. So yes, the struggle is on. Lots of debates on, we have to conquer a lot of mindsets and thought process. Unless that change, it's still a struggle.
Actually, last Monday on our Arabic program, which is called Colors, I was actually interviewing several artists, and many of them were women. I was really tackling like women in art, and we hardly find women in like women composers, women like behind camera. So most of the women artists do jobs in front of the camera, but because they're seen as faces and bodies much more than intellect and talent and ability. And there was even an article that was published by The Guardian in England, and it says that more than 2/3 of the shows were strictly male shows. And whenever you have women, it's to prove that we are for gender equality. Sometimes a woman composer might go to producer, and he's much more interested in the way she looks. And this study actually covered Britain and the United States of America.
That is very, how do I say, distasteful. As a filmmaker, I know what it takes to put together so many facets of talents and make it even a very short film. So many people come together to make that piece of art. How much hard work, both physically, emotionally, and mentally, is required. So this goes to the audience. I mean, if you are undermining your female artist, you need to reconsider. Whatever a male artist puts, the same effort a female artist puts, because one and the same.
And they can complement each other.
To
have a full human perspective,
yes,
you need both.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yes, the struggle is on, and I sincerely hope and pray that there is a change and shift in mind and the attitude changes, because it's a great piece that if you don't have the right attitude, you can't see what you need to see.
Definitely.
Your perspective changes, and yes, we are looking forward for the change. I mean, still the journey is on.
Finally, as we come to, unfortunately, the end of this very interesting interview, what kind of a message would you like to give to women who do not believe in other women? Because unfortunately, many times the first person to not trust another woman is her fellow woman as well. In elections, in art, in work, in everything. What is your message to those women who do not believe in other women?
If you respect yourself, you will respect others. So I always believe in this saying, the respect is earned. So if I respect myself, I will respect my peer, or I will respect other women folk. We need to complement each other. We need to help each other, be a support system for each other, help each other grow. This is how we should be in a position not to discuss inequality, but equality. So it's not one person's job. We have to hold hands, be the full circle. So for those people who think that being, struggling, you're wasting your energy. Use it the positive way. Be that ladder for another friend who needs you. That is all I got to say.
Absolutely. There's always, since the dawn of time, there's been men and women, males and females, to really complement one another. If there is no need for one of them, then why are they here? To have a full human perspective, you really need both of them hand in hand, together, one pulling the other. If one stumbles, the other will hold his or her hand equally to give a complete message, a complete human perspective. Other than that, there is no way, not today, not tomorrow, not ever, that we can have a full human perspective. And this is, I think, something we all aspire to, something that the values of both Canada and the United States would call for. At the end of this very, very enlightening, I would say, interview, I really want to deeply thank you very much, Deepa Mahanti, for being with us tonight.
Oh, thank you so much, Mohammed, for having me. And it's a sense of pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure. Would really have a greater pleasure of having you again with us on the show. Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, dear audience, dear viewers. Until we meet again next Thursday, take good care. And remember, we are all humans. Please stay hand in hand. Thank you very much and have a good night.